Good to see you all. So this is our last session on the beginner's oil painting project for January. So next week is February, so another project. It's a 4-week month, February. So the next project I've got in mind is it's like foliage and green. So I wanted to do a little bit of work on green as a colour, but it's also sort of foliage or trees, things like that. So it's kind of a landscape project, if you fancy trying that. Okay. So I don't really mind what medium. I didn't particularly specify a medium for this one. So I might start off with oils and acrylics and then maybe go through some of the mediums. The project in March is watercolour, so I might sort of gradually go through and perhaps do watercolours towards the end and the other mediums in the middle. So yeah, if you've got any references you want to work from and you want to take part in that one, that's what we'll do next week. I thought for today, I just wanted to be more talking about oil painting rather than demonstrating today. So I've done a little bit more of this one and a tiny bit more of that one. I wanted to first of all mention a little bit about brushes, the sort of brushes used for oil paints. So my collection of brushes, and I tend to like these sort of brush cases. So nice, and it's very easy to keep the brushes in, keeps them from getting all squashed up, and then zips up. So it's a nice way of carrying them. I use a lot of these bristle brushes, which are a very traditional oil painting brush. They're quite a stiff bristle, and they're made out of pig's bristles or hog hair. This one's filbert shape, which I rather like. I use those quite a bit. You can also get a squarer shape, so that's more of a square, and that's almost a round. So that's the other shape. The ones I use the most are squares and filberts, though. The nice thing about the bristles is I find that it's quite hard wearing, and although they can get worn down like that one, I can still use that as a brush. I can still get some nice, some marks, nice straight marks or whatever kind of marks. So I find that they're a very versatile brush, and I can use them right until they're almost ground down to nothing. When they're really ground down, I sometimes just use them to sort of draw out whatever I'm drawing with them. So that can be quite good. The other kind of brushes that you can use for oil painting are nylon brushes. I find that bristles, I'm very comfortable on canvas with bristles, but on a board, my boards are really smooth, and I find that the nylon sometimes works a bit better on the board. So again, with nylon, you can get different kinds of nylon. Some are very soft and some are slightly stiffer. I've got a couple of sets in. So this cost me about £25 from Cassar, and these are quite a good value set. They're quite good quality, but they're probably, buying a set like this would have been a bit cheaper than if I bought each brush individually. And these grey ones for me are quite nice for oil painting. This is actually a new set. I tend to sort of use a set, and then they'll end up looking. Well, the downside of nylon is they end up looking like that. They just totally lose their shape after a while. And there's not too much you can do there apart from scrub areas here. But these are really nice for sort of sharp definition, sharp lines, things like that. So I particularly find the square brushes, good in nylon. This is a very cheap set I've got from Lidl's. Again, these aren't too bad. That set was about £25. This is about £3. So these are really cheap and cheerful. But they're not bad. Again, any nylon is going to lose its shape after a while, so a nice new brush is, a nice thing to use. These are a bit softer, so they're probably better for acrylics rather than oils. Because oil paint tends to be a little bit of a stiffer medium, it benefits having something that is a bit stiffer. That's very good. Yeah, so that's a little bit on brushes. Hi, good to see you. Good to see you both. The other thing I thought I'd mention is mediums. So with the oils, Once you've got some paint, like the first layer I just thinned with water mixable oils, or with traditional oils, I use solvent, like a low odour solvent. So once you've got that layer dry, if you then want to thin your paint, like this paint I've been putting on here a little bit this morning, this canvas is quite rough, so I'm finding that the paint actually goes on a bit easier if I thin it. So I tend to make up a medium. So what I do is I use a little bit of either a linseed oil or a painting medium, and some sort of, either if it's water mixable oils, I would use this stuff, which is called artisan thinners. So that goes with the water mixable oils. I think that, yeah, so anything that says like artisan, like that. The other one I've got is a Cobra medium, and again, this is for water mixable oils. So you can mix any of these together. On its own, I find the mediums and the oils just a bit too oily. They just look a bit gloopy. So I like to thin them down a little bit. So I tend to just put them in a little pot like that, and then I'll just take that out with me when I'm painting. And just any time I need to thin the paint, I'll just dip into that. With traditional oil paints, you do exactly the same thing, but it'd be solvent and just ordinary refined linseed oil. So that's for traditional oils. With oils, this is something that I very rarely use, but you can get, this is a fast drying medium. So if you find it's taking too long to dry, or say if I want to get it, I actually used a little bit of this sort of thing the other day, because I wanted to get this, I thought I'd finish this painting, I was just about to varnish it, but it's a commission, and noticed there's a big scratch in the corner, so I thought, no, I better just paint that. So I used some of this Alkyd paint, Alkyd medium, that speeds up, so that means that like when I go home tonight, I'll be able to varnish it. So that's good if you really need it to dry quite quickly. But as I say, I don't use it that much because it tends to get a little bit, just don't like on the palette very much, a bit sticky.
What sort of proportions do you mix your linseed oil and the thinner?
Right, so up to half and half. Yeah, so up to half oil. So you could have, if you're painting in lots of layers, you could start off with more thinners and a little bit of oil. But the idea is to get progressively more oil into your painting. And there's a thing called fat over lean. You're right, Jeff. Got there or there. Yeah. There's an expression called painting fat over lean, which is basically, as the painting progresses, have more oil in the layers. And the reason for that is that your paintings can crack if you don't. When I first got the water mixable oils, I didn't have any of the mediums, and I used to just thin the paint with water a little bit, but I did find that once it dried, I've got little hairline cracks appearing. So yeah, if you don't have to use any medium at all if you don't want to. If you want to just get the paint straight out of the tube, pop it straight on, that's absolutely fine. It's just sometimes you might want it to be a little bit more flowing, a bit more fluid. And I find that particularly with thin lines. The other brush I didn't mention, that I was going to mention, was rigger brushes, which are these like long, thin head brushes. And these I find really useful for sort of long, thin lines. So if I was going to put, say, the wires from the telegraph pole in, I could do something like that. Sort of thin the paint with a bit medium, or like that. It's a bit thick actually, but you can kind of get the paint to flow a little bit nicer. This, as I say, this is a little bit of a rough canvas, so it's still getting a bit grainy, even with the medium in it. But that's one way of, yeah, just getting the paint a bit more fluid. Okay, and there's probably similar sort of mediums for acrylics if you want the paint to flow a bit more. Right, okay, all good? Yep, right.
Thank you.